Yes, This song is called Be the Change, inspired by the words of Mahatma Gandhi, who lived for peace and not violence, and told us to be the change we wish to see in the world.
Welcome to the 100th Monkey Radio with Tom and Ramon. We are recording this on August 27th and 28th, and if you guys listen to the show, you understand what I'm talking about there. So wow, I'll tell you what, Ramon, I got home yesterday and I sat down on the computer. You know, I always go through emails and you know, kind of put my finger on the pulse and see what's going on out there. And I was just sitting here dinking around, and I kind of got into something, and I had no anticipation of getting away from the keyboard anytime soon. I was pretty much into what I was doing online, and all of a sudden it all shut down. I was like, screeching halt. It was no more computer. It was like, okay, well, what the hell's up with that? And then I got a big blast. It said, Tom, your tomatoes. Go pick your tomatoes. I was like, oh God, yes, I need to go pick tomatoes. So I went out there and I took, I got this big colander, you know, the straining bowls. Took this big colander out there. I figured, well, I'll fill this up and bring it back in. And I got out there, and just the first plant that well, when I walked out the back door, I just went, oh my God. And I got the first plant I got to, I filled that thing up, and I hadn't even finished half of this cherry tomato plant. I picked like a gallon of cherry tomatoes immediately, filled up the first colander, and looked around, and I went, oh my God, I need a lot more containers. So I went in and grabbed a bunch of bags, and I don't know how many bags I filled up, but I'm guessing I got, out of this little tiny garden I have here, I have probably 2.5 gallons, maybe a little bit more, of just cherry tomatoes. And I have 20 plus gallons of Romas and beefsteaks and regular tomatoes. I was like, oh my word, I got my work cut out for me now. I need to do some canning, Ramon. I've never seen tomato plants as abundant as these plants have been. And I have to say, this is a testament for myself on what a little TLC and some consciousness and some projection will do for your garden. I mean, I spent a significant amount of time this year just really focusing on, you know, sharing, showing, and giving love to my garden. And it has paid off, I'll tell you what. And oh my God, I have never tasted cherry tomatoes as good as, well, this one plant out there. These things are so sweet. It's just like, oh my God, these are the greatest cherry tomatoes in the world. Anyways, it's doing really well. So now I have, my refrigerator is just packed to the gills with tomatoes that I have to get working on, get canned. I'm going to make a tomato base, and
nice.
It's good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, that should be really cool, making some tomato puree and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I make a base that just throw a couple spices in, something that I can do anything with, you know.
Yeah.
So.
For myself, this weekend I went this weekend that passed, I went to this place, Yamanashi, and it's a pyramid center. I will ask our guest because he knows more about it. But she built like this pyramid. I don't know if she built it or her husband or who built it, but it's made of wood. It's not made of concrete. But it's a beautiful place. It's in a valley, and there's nothing around, not even a convenience store. And it's just beautiful to watch the stars. I'm not sure if it was the day off for the UFOs, but we didn't see any. But I saw this really beautiful long streak of a shooting star. It was like really long, about this in the sky. It looked like about the size of my arm. This shooting star streak, and there was a couple weird things that had happened. We had like two walkie-talkies, and
So before you pass off the shooting star, I'm
Yeah.
curious. I'm curious. What were you thinking about when that came by? Was there anything significant that you noted?
My thoughts. I want to see a UFO. I think that's what I was thinking. I was thinking more about landing, because we just in case we made like a landing area, just in case we were gonna have a face-to-face contact, and I was just thinking, all right, guys, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, and that's all I was thinking
Hmm.
about.
Yeah,
I was
'cause
thinking like it would be
I've noted,
cool. Go ahead. Tom.
I've noticed in the past that a lot of times I'll be thinking something or mentally talking with whatever's out there, and there'll be something of significance that goes through my mind right when a shooting star shoots in. I don't.
Yeah.
I said I found a lot of synchronicity there for me.
Yeah. What was strange about this one that it it left like a streak through the clouds, but it didn't really have a tail like the other ones. And the other ones would burn out like, in seconds. This one lasted several seconds, so just pretty long for shooting stars.
Mm.
Uh, so let's get started because I'm really oh, I was gonna say about the walkie-talkies before we get started was that the walkie-talkies, we had two walkie-talkies, and then we were playing tones, and these tones were recorded off of a crop circle. I forgot which one in England, and we were playing those tones, and then the walkies, they started acting really strange. Um, they started making like the beeping sound, like when they're low battery.
Right?
Yeah, but the guy Mark had it all charged up.
Hmm. Bizarre stuff.
Yeah. All right. So let's get started. Cause
Okay, well, we've got Greg Sullivan back. If you guys remember, we had him on, geez, what was it, a year and a half ago or so, Ramon?
yeah, I think 2014 or 13.
Yeah,
2013.
Greg Sullivan is a professional sound designer and freelance writer who has lived in Japan since 2003. He coordinates JCETI, Japan's Center for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, a research organization that is currently working to expand awareness about positive human futures, ET disclosure, and benevolent ET contact in Japan. Greg has been active in Japanese TV and print media for more than 10 years. He focuses on helping to introduce cutting-edge ideas into Japanese social awareness regarding a new outlook on ET contact and the overarching implications of recognizing an ET presence on Earth. His publications include a chapter in The Paths to Contact and in Japan, The Space People Will Appear Right in Front of You, and an online essay series on Web Magazine, Core Conspirial, how do you say? Is that right? Close enough. Jay said he has released a 3-part ambassador training series in Japan, and Greg is currently editing 2 new books for release in 2020. Are those out? This is an old bio. JCETI can be reached at www.jceti.org. That's jceti.org. And on Facebook at JCETI. Contact email. Oh, I won't go there. Greg, Wow, man, it's been a while since we talked. How you doing?
Yeah. Hey guys, good morning. Thanks for having me on again. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a while, and it's been a busy while for no doubt. Yeah.
So, off of this bio, you were getting ready to put some books out. Are they out?
Well, in that kind of changed into what is out is the Japan official Japanese version of the movie Sirius here. I was thinking of myself as you read that. I wish we had a Japanese version that was so as concise. We've kind of been going through a lot of fundamental kind of shifts in the website and everything like that. So, yeah, it's been a really interesting year since we last talked, or year and a half, I guess it is now.
Yeah.
But yeah, a couple of the projects are still in the works, and a couple of new book projects are going on. But yeah, we've still pretty much workshop and event based. It seems like the forces that are guiding this project want us to be out and meeting people and gathering, in with people in 3D rather than on the internet or things like that per se.
Right.
So yeah, it's been busy as usual, but yeah, what did come out this year was the official release of Sirius. So we felt that was a real important first step to kind of get some groundwork laid as far as the understanding about disclosure and contact and stuff. As I've mentioned before, that information was really kind of almost non-existent here when we started JCETI in 2010. So kind of this project kind of took a precedence over some of the other ones. But it's finally done and it's out, and we've met some people who are helping us get the word out. We've had a lot of people do their own screenings and stuff. So it's been a lot more than just doing the DVD. We've been trying to keep on top of our mail magazine, and we made an 8-page pamphlet to describe some of the ideas, because it is quite a dense a dense 2 hours there for a regular documentary.
Right.
But I want to just rewind. I know Ramon was out there with a couple other friends, and at the Pyramid Center. Do you want me to comment a little bit about that, or?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Well, this just starting off the year was just we started off with a couple big chances to kind of get the word out in general. I used to write for a recording magazine in the U.S., and one of the musicians I interviewed is called Cornelius. People into the kind of 90s, alternative indie rock genre might know his name. And he invited me to come on the NHK National Radio. It was just the day after New Year, so we did a sort of a live broadcast of those crop circle tones on the radio for 2 days in a row. That was pretty cool to feel the kind of exposure to a whole new kind of audience, who might be interested in this but not have found the inroads themselves per se. So that was cool. They gave me a little recorded spot of about 5 minutes on that show, and then we've had a real big media kind of breakthrough with national TV there. There's a show, I know Ramon must know this, it's the show that interviews foreigners at the arrival lobby of Narita Airport in Tokyo. So,
Nani,
yeah, why did you come to Japan? It's called. Yeah, I think there must be a lot of viewers around the world, because the views on YouTube, the view hits are pretty high on a lot of these. But the premise of the show, I didn't even know the show existed, but long story short, I was their last victim at the end of last year. I came back from the U.S. On Thanksgiving, and they said, "Hey, do you want to do contact right now?" And here I am after a direct flight from Boston, with a whole bunch of luggage, and the premise of the show is they follow the foreigners, they follow the interviewee wherever they're headed. So they asked me what I was doing in Japan, and I wasn't too bashful, but then once they said, "Let's go right now," I was thinking, wait a minute, is this some sort of trick or something? I didn't know about the show at that point, but it turned out we jumped in a taxi and took a 10-minute ride away from the airport, and we had about 5 or 6 ships in about 20 minutes up here. So they weren't able to film them because they were quite high in the sky. But at that point, I knew for sure that this was kind of signed, sealed, and delivered from sort of the unseen, and that we were cool to do the TV piece. So the next part of it was that they came to our event at that pyramid center that Ramon just mentioned. So that was in end of January, in the middle of the winter, and then we
Yeah.
were on national TV there
Did
with the in February.
did the old lady build the pyramid
Yeah,
herself? 'Cause I
that
didn't get a
pyramid.
chance to talk to her.
Yeah, people can see that show, by the way, at if you look on YouTube. It's if you look on why did you come to Japan and UFO. It's a two-part video. They gave us about 15, 20 minutes. That pyramid center, I think it was first built in the 70s or early 80s, but the owner was a guy named Mr. Yamada, and he was a real big proponent of meditation and in Japan, and kind of localizing or kind of he had his own meditation school at the Pyramid Center there. And I think the woman running it now is his wife, his widow. So
She's a great cook.
yeah, they kind of keep it real. They do a lot of the organic food there, and it is interesting. It's how I don't know if you felt that. Did you feel really refreshed in the morning? I think they have a couple of things hanging from the ceiling in the middle of the pyramid there that he designed that are sort of like sacred geometric resonators, or kind of like with the copper wires.
I slept really well, and when I woke up, I forgot that it wasn't. I slept on we call a futon mat, and
Yeah.
it's very thin, and I forgot that I was even there. I thought I was in bed at home, and then I was like, oh. But
Yeah,
yeah, I woke up
it's
really feeling really well.
it's surprisingly relaxing there. Yeah. It was our second event there, and it was weird because all around that area it was rain that night, but we had like planetarium conditions. We had completely clear skies. So when it's a pretty popular show apparently. So when these guys came in, the director, the young director guy, and the cameraman, they shot all our. They shot a lot of stuff, but they cut a lot of it out. But I was going to comment about I had just gotten our Gen 3 night scope at the end of last
Oh,
year, so
nice.
I busted that baby out, and we did the first recording in Japan of that. And we see a lot of those alleged shooting stars or alleged meteors, as you mentioned, and Tom, you're right on with that. A lot of those seem to accent thought or comments that are happening, conversations that are happening in the field, don't they?
Oh, absolutely.
The cool thing was about this one is now I know for a lot of viewers it seems like the ETI, they kind of they're always calculating exactly how much they show to who. We've done so many of the C5 contact events outdoors now that you start to see these patterns and start to uncover these deeper layers of the activity happening. But it was interesting. In a couple of the videos we've taken with the night scopes, and especially in the one that was on TV there, if you watch the video, there's the black cup of the eyepiece. Kind of, you can see a black ring around the actual green video, and one of the ships, the first one that shot was in the middle of the frame, but the second one that was just a minute or two later, actually cuts over the light. It should be going behind the black eyepiece, but it goes over it for a second. If you can, imagine what I'm saying there. So there are some even more subtle anomalies that occur with those that kind of, if you dig a little deeper. I know for the average viewer, I'm sure that more than half of the people were saying, "Really? Is that a craft?" We try and ditch the term UFO and trying to ask people to think about some other terms, like even just, whether it's a light ship or just a ship or something else like that, because of all the programming that's and baggage that comes with the term UFO. But yeah, it was a great step forward for us and for the information in general, because it was compared to some of the other TV shows we've been asked to be on. Where they keep it really panel-based. It was a great chance for me to be there on my own, kind of giving a little bit of information, as much as they could show. And then we actually, had the technology in the field there that people could see. And then they shot the other members, kind of going crazy, seeing stuff and really having a great time. So, yeah, I think the English keyword would be why did you come to Japan, and then UFO, um, and then people could see that video on YouTube. Yeah, might be
Yeah, no,
interesting.
we'll have it posted to your page when
Yeah, I
this
just
comes.
saying the link there.
But you know
So
what I
yeah,
noticed, Greg? Sorry. You know
yeah,
what
go
I
ahead.
noticed is that when we got there, this lady came up to us and she was like, "Oh, my son he hears and sees UFOs all the time."
Hmm.
And of course, we started asking her a lot of questions, and it was like, "How old is he?" He's 7 years old, and he's they had like, because they're always having like small little concerts there at the pyramid, and I guess, because of his energy and him being a kid, just being naturally happy, he sees them like not every night, but she says he sees them a lot and he can hear them when they're in the house.
Hmm.
So I was just amazed, and also how it seems like the people in that town are very open to the whole idea. It's
Yeah.
not, it didn't feel like you're, I guess living in the Tokyo region, it's a different feel compared to like in those areas out in the boonies.
Yeah, I think just being there, they've done a lot of, kind of a lot of work and kind of opening people up to those other sort of consciousness, other kind of other ideas about consciousness or ways of living. So yeah, it's that's part of the work they've done out there with the Pyramid Center. They have a lot of similar kind of events there happening.
So
Yeah.
after that show aired, what kind of response did you get?
Um, yeah, I mean it's again it's an internet it was an internet based thing, so we sort of haven't had the time to repost it or anything. Definitely, a lot of people saw it. I've had a couple people stop me on the street and said they saw it, but yeah, I mean, otherwise it wasn't a huge. There was obviously a huge spike in the website activity that for that day or two, but it's a huge getting this information out, without it being twisted and corkscrewed on TV like that is really a hard thing. So it was sort of a first step in my opinion, in being such. It's a reference that we can use now for other shows.
Right.
Um, because again, as I mentioned, most of the folks that control the mass media, want to keep it. They want to have the dialogue controlled in the way they've always controlled it,
Yeah.
which is putting people like us amongst other not so integrity and not folks with not the greatest levels of integrity, and putting us all in the same box together. So I've turned down after that. I turned down a lot. I've turned about 4 or 5 shows down, just because of that fact.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, because I've noticed when they do TV shows here, like I have a friend of mine who studies martial arts, and when it comes to this world, he has nothing to do with it. But even with the martial arts stuff, because he's a foreigner, he hates doing interviews because they always like funny joke kind of thing,
Mm.
and not really take it seriously.
How
Um,
did, yeah, with even with a subject that should be pretty seriously
yeah,
put out
so
there.
I've noticed, and it's the same thing in America. I've heard people talk about that. How it's if you believe in little green men, how they usually start the news story
Yeah.
uh, in the U.S. and stuff like that. But Greg, go ahead. You were gonna say something?
Oh no! Oh no! Go. Well, yeah. I mean, I think a lot of this we're seeing. You've probably maybe heard from either your students or something. I don't know whether you've heard about this, but there is a new kind of reactive wave to Sirius coming out here, and the disclosure information coming out in Japan. They've had a lot of these sort of TV shows. Some of them are good in some ways, but there have been definitely deliberate sort of countermeasure up type TV shows we've seen come out trying to keep the lid down. So it's interesting to watch that happening.
Yeah, the
Debunker type shows or
Well, same old, same old. The way it's always been kind of shows that focus on the old information or refuse to acknowledge newer things that are happening. I think in America, we went from the X-File generation out of like Unsolved Mysteries into X-Files, and then they, once the Disclosure Project kind of happened, it seemed like that the TV media was unable to continue as heavily as they had on the track of fear and disinformation, and they went more into the History Channel, Ancient Aliens tip, whereas here the Disclosure Project and that stuff never broke, so it was they've kind of been getting away with murder here in media for way longer than they should be. So one of those actually is I don't know if you saw, there was folks in the U.S. and Europe would definitely probably saw this online. There was a Okinawan occurrence on January 23rd.
Yeah, you actually commented on that one and
on James's
Facebook.
Okay, yeah, this was a direct kind of shot across our bow. We had literally just put the stamps on the contract for Japan Sirius here, and then about an hour and a half later, there was a full-blown military disinformation, a hoaxed UFO event over Naha, Okinawa, which is a heavily, U.S. military installation. And so we have people who are, JCETI affiliates on the ground there who were saying it was bunk, and they put it just so happened that someone at the Okinawa Times was able to video and tape the whole thing from his balcony, and it was just this whole complete charade of media tied up with the actual kind of black ops of the actual operation that pulled that off. It looked like people came out in the news the next day saying it was probably military lights and stuff, but the whole thing, the way they portrayed it up until then and then after that was sort of like this, just in the same old disinformation spin, and then also focusing. One of the big tricks we find is that they just focus on the phenomena itself with zero information around it. So, same old, same old. So these are all just great tools for us to use in our workshops to show what's been going up until now, and how when we have our own contact experience, we become immune to that disinformation, and also our knowledge of the field, of how real ET phenomenon in the field looks like and feels like, and can be you can tell the difference immediately. So it took me less than 5 seconds to look at that video of these kind of multicolored lights and say it's human. That was military. And not a mistake at that at all. It was a completely, it was an intentional, smoke and mirrors, display.
Yeah,
literally.
Yeah. What I've noticed is that it seems in the past, 50, 60 years, that especially since the 1950 contact movement, that it's almost like in the public eye, it almost seems like it's gone a little backwards, because if you look at some of the footage and news coverage from the 1950s, you would even have like some serious scientists. I forgot his name. There was an atmospheric scientist who was out in the public media saying like, oh yeah, the military is doing all this debunking, and they say they're going to go study this, but they don't really study anything. They just go there to debunk and not really say anything. And that's gone like backwards, because you don't have any serious scientists going, at least in public media, major media, let me say it like that, in major media saying those things anymore. Yeah.
Well, speaking of it, there was a comment about that Naha incident. About he was the director of the Vera array in Ishigaki Island, which is about an hour flight south of Naha. We have a lot of events there, and I actually went and met him in July, I think it was, and he also knew that there was it was definitely not the real thing. So yeah, I mean, and they put his comment in the newspaper, but again, it's always a matter of you can take someone's comment and then kind of separate from their real opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're in definitely a new era of individual contact and this kind of with the C5 movement and everything. So it's sort of it's in a way the truth is up for grabs, and the faster that people kind of start to try and want to have their own experience, the faster that the truth is going to be easier to kind of be revealed.
Right. Right. You mentioned that. I mean, you've been working on the serious movie, and getting it out there in Japan.
Yeah.
And there's along with the whole debunking thing. There's one issue with that movie that I felt they could have done much better without, was the whole 15, 20 minutes they spent on the little alien guy that they had there.
Yeah.
That one, if you're trying to reach people in a larger way, you need to get the tongue-in-cheek stuff out of there, and try to keep it addressed towards I don't know, the more provable or the more plausible sort of material that people are going to be able to swallow easier. That whole segment, it just gave the skeptics and the debunkers food for ammunition.
Yeah.
I
think that obviously it was the weakest link, and the link that's still kind of the newest part. But yeah, it's a tricky thing, because people here are getting it all. It's that Atacama humanoid thing is the same as the Disclosure Project as far as how new it is for people. But I think for the rest of the world, who had already known about a lot of this stuff, that was sort of like sort of a necessary bit of new information. So yeah, but I agree. I mean, there's a lot of people who look at that picture and it's sort of a way to it is an attention grabber for sure. So there are positive elements, but also we've approached people regarding distribution and stuff, and in the media here, or our media channels here, that have sort of the first thing, and they don't get back to you, and then we ask someone else to kind of get in touch and check up on it, and then you found out that just as you suspected, it was because they saw that picture,
right.
And through, and then kind of they went turned the other way. You know what I mean?
Shied off from it.
So it is a tricky, but I mean, I think Amardeep Kalika did an amazing job with such amount of, when you see it a lot, when you watch the movie several times, it just continues to reveal how well he tied all these themes together, and they did touch upon some major fundamental issues of the of the topic in general. Right, so I think for people like who need a primer for some people who are starting on square one with this, it is a pretty advanced film in a way. I think Thrive is a good primer,
Yeah.
And then get through
Thrive
that.
does a really good job.
Yeah. So I agree. I mean, the whole target audience here, and I tell this when we do the screenings, I do a little bit of a introductory lecture and then a Q&A at the end. But I always tell people, this is not only just for the folks who have been in the spiritual or New Age community up until now, or the UFO fans out there. It's also for the people who completely didn't know or believe in this at all. It's more for them, actually, the regular people, quote unquote regular folks out there.
Right.
Yeah. When it comes to the little alien thing, I think the geneticists did a really good job, because one of the things he says that you're right, it was taken and spun into something that's not what he said, was that its mother was human. Mm-hmm. But he didn't recognize a lot of the other markers. He didn't know what they were, so he couldn't just trash them, because he had nothing to compare to, which makes completely sense. Because if you're looking at some new genes and you have nothing to compare it to, then you don't know what it is, and the program automatically takes them out and trashes them. So, but that was taken. I saw several news things debunking it, saying oh, see, he said it was human. No, that's not what he said.
Yeah, they jumped on that. Definitely, that was the point. Apparently, his there was also some stuff that they didn't want to. He apparently, because his Dr. Gary Nolan, he wanted to kind of keep his privacy and his reputation intact in some ways. He went as far as he could. He felt comfortable with, apparently, but there were other elements that were other aspects of the issue that were in favor of it being highly anomalous and and not human. So
Yeah.
yeah. But
Do you?
that's an interesting parallel. That's a perfect parallel as well for this phenomenon with the alleged meteors or the alleged satellites, or a lot of the other stuff that happens in the field work we do. Exact same thing. Like I said, we try and avoid using the term UFO because of the baggage and the image that it comes with it being this, big, silver, flying disc or some sort of, thing with panels and rivets. That's, more than half of them were probably advanced prototypes of military aircraft or anti-gravity vehicles or whatnot. So it seems like exact same thing. We have no reference for the actual real phenomenon. That's just starting to come out now.
Right, right.
Yeah, especially when you see like light ships and plasma ships and
Yeah.
things that morph into different shapes that make no sense to your eyes, that it's hard for your brain to even comprehend.
Yeah, it pushes the envelope of perception, and then there's the whole conscious involvement. So it's hard for us to. The scope of it is so large. That we did make that video. We're gonna try and repackage it and add a couple new clips to the kind of this ambassador training video that we did 2 years ago, just using some simple simulations where showing some of the light phenomenon, even in the daytime when you can see those little balls, the clear orb type ships flying around. A lot of times if you watch the chemtrails, you can see them flying around, kind of doing work around them too.
Right, right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing about this area. I didn't see any whatsoever chemtrails, none whatsoever, which was shocking because Japan, as you know, Greg, gets hit consistently with chemtrails all the time.
Yeah, the Yamanashi was clear there. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
nice to have clear skies when you do an event. Yeah.
it wasn't clear sky. It was cloudy, but there was no chemtrails whatsoever.
Mhm.
Not because
That's
I know that I can tell the difference watching them for so long now between
yeah.
real clouds and that crap. But
Yeah, we were at the same time last weekend. We were in Fukushima for the first time, and on the contrary, we had some major chemtrailing happening over the field, and then also we had a couple, kind of nods of the hat saying, hey, we know you guys are out there in the form of those giant X's. I posted them on Facebook, but one of them was like, we left the house of the woman who coordinated the event, and there was just this enormous X in the sky right in front of us. It wasn't diagonal, it wasn't above us and just happened to be there. It was like practically, it was completely
in your
right
face.
in your face, enormous. So it was like, yeah, there are people who are definitely not happy about this work that's going on too. So it's
yeah,
always interesting.
have you ever had a knock on your door or phone calls from either the Japanese or the American? Uh,
Um,
I don't know
no,
if I want to say military, but
well, we did have, I spoke about it a little bit on an interview, a Japanese interview, the day of that broadcast. I think it was the day after New Year's, on January 2nd. We did have a guy from Army Intelligence come down here, and we had a chat, and so he was a really nice guy, and I think he was not really. It was he was. I think he was true to his word that he was really just interested in researching this personally,
yeah,
or 'cause, he was also a musician, I think, so that was totally plausible. And then, but we definitely have had a lot of those deliberate, like over JCETI, at Trout Lake there in the Mount Adams. We have definitely had the deliberate spraying over the field when we're out there. We've had the electromagnetic stuff happening. Definitely have had a lot of the 4D stuff coming in. Psychic attack, psychotronic stuff definitely has been ramping up. Remote viewer interference, so that's definitely been ramping up. RV, these people come in, and compared to some of the other negative ET stuff that we've experienced, it's nothing, but it's just nothing more than like a mosquito, and they're more annoyance. But so I went through a lot of kind of this consciousness inside training through contact to be prepared to deal with that. It seems like as well, so It's comes with the territory, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But
The
it's
one of
very
the
subtle. It's very subtle.
Yeah. One of the things I've noticed this weekend was I didn't see it, but the guy who coordinated everything, Mark, he saw a flash because we were like sitting in a circle and everybody had their corner of the sky to keep a watch on. And he saw like this flash, which I've seen several, over at JCETI with Tom. I don't know if you were you with me? You saw like a couple flashes
I've
in the
seen
sky.
saw all sorts of flashes over there. Some so bright and directly above my head. One so bright, look, it was like a camera flash. It was just
Say cheese.
unmistakable. It was just like, what the hell
Say
was
cheese.
that?
But there's nothing there.
Exactly. Well, it was directly above my head, and there's at midnight, dark skies and nothing flying up there, nothing above, no trees, no, just clear sky, and this big flash right above my head.
I always wonder about those flashes. Is it maybe a cloak ship taking tourist pictures?
Yeah, it seems
Huh?
like they're taking video of us too. It's like,
Yeah.
Why
Hey,
not?
look
I
at those
mean,
guys looking at us. We're
it seems
looking
like
at
it
them
could be
we're looking at them looking at us.
it could be some sort of recording happening like that. It also could be a portion of the energy work they do that's happening in a split second. We had an instance in the field this weekend in Fukushima that was interesting. It sounded like someone opened a door in the woods. I mean, this was like area where bears come out even at night. And all of a sudden we were in the middle of some sort of guided meditation or some part early in the middle in the field work, and all of a sudden it was like boom, something like something wooden, like a wood crane or something, fell over in the middle of the woods, and instantly the energy kind of shifted, and we, a lot of the people who take part are able to feel and sense that. Yeah, similar thing with those flashes. It seems like the amount of time for them to do that in it's a split second in 3D, but in the higher dimensions, it's they're actually doing a lot of work in that instant. It seems like the flow of time is completely different.
Right. Oh,
I remember having a dream once where they actually showed the ETs or whatever the guides showed me that it was like it was like the rest of the world was in super slow motion, and we were like, we even went right up in front of someone's face and was like, he can't even see this, they can't even feel this, it was like, it was like something was showing me how different that time frame is, between the three, physical reality and non-physical.
hmm. Hmm.
so one dream I've been having a lot is like I'll see clouds, right? And then all of a sudden, out of those clouds, something dematerializes, and it's usually ships, but the ships are more like they're like U.S. based. If anybody ever watched Stargate, and I wonder if just the TV program is influencing my dreams, but out of those clouds, something dematerializes, and it looks like the ships from Stargate, the ones from the U.S., the really big, long ones. I don't know if anybody's. Are you guys familiar with Stargate? Not the TV, not the movie, but the TV program.
Of course, I am.
Yeah, so those
Are
kind of
are
ships,
they like blade-looking ships, or are they long and thin?
long and thin.
Mhm.
So, oh, you
But
talking about the Wraith?
no, not the Wraith. The one for the U.S., the American spaceships.
Right, right.
Once they materialize in your vision like that, what do you see after that? What's the dream like after that?
It cuts off into something different, but I've seen that so many times, like just out of the clouds, something dematerializes. And so I always wonder, when sometimes I see clouds going in the opposite directions. For
Yeah.
example, 2 or 3 weekends ago, there was a big fireworks here in Yoyogi Park. And I told my wife, I said, look at those clouds. They're strange. They were like darker, and they're going completely opposite direction of the
Yeah,
major
those clouds.
clouds.
Cloud ships, yeah.
And
It seems like there's a lot of people who there seems like there's a few different patterns that happen with the the ones that appear over like Mount Shasta or Mount Adams or even Mount Fuji. Some of those are natural weather phenomena, but it seems like there are a few patterns. I've seen actual materialized ships come out of the clouds, and but the ones I think we're talking about here are even more subtle, where it's like the whole ship is in a mist state, like a half materialized state or a semi materialized state.
yeah,
And yeah, just like you said, they'll move in a different direction, or I've seen them kind of fade out in order, and or partially fade in and out, and it's sort of it's just showing us that kind of domination of physical matter, the mastery of physical matter that they have with this technology.
yeah. It, let me ask you a question. It's something going off a little bit different topic, and I don't think we've ever asked you this,
Yeah.
which is strange. Um, why why this work? Why would you get into this work? Because obviously you're a musician and you could be just focusing on that and probably even make more money than you do doing this work. Um, why is this so important?
Well, I don't know. I think the big element about this is, yeah, it seems like, well, it's definitely, I'm sure of it at this point, is it's a soul contract. It's sort of like ties in with the ascension information, or which is about star seeds and indigos. So I know that that's part of my reason for being here. So we did a lot of work. Actually, was at JCETI this month in the early part of the month, and did a lot of work with the table, the transpersonal release table there, looking into this. So for me, it's sort of like the way I experienced it personally was, just a really strong sense of urgency, and kind of I had my experience to go on, and knew it was real, and then just wanted to share that, just a pure intention of sharing that with other people. So it's like just the same with the way I got into music. It was I got a real heavy hit of inspiration in the beginning, and then just have been following that. And then, once you follow your mission, or you follow your path, and you start doing your work, the puzzle pieces just start to fall into place. And it's not like the big difference between what I've been doing in music and now is that all the musicians that I looked up to who were on their path, and things that were falling in place for them, I know that it's sort of like, you can't really totally will that into place. It's sort of, I'm a real firm believer in the kind of, whether it's a completely decided destiny or not, we're not sure, but definitely that soul program kind of way of thinking about things it seems like that's what I'm experiencing. So what I'm experiencing now is sort of like the way I always hoped, things that happened with my musical career, but my contracts were with this, I guess. So yeah, it's a process that you don't really think about or will into place, per se. It just happens. I just walk straight, and I just show up at the events, and everything else just sort of seems to fall into place. So I was hands off before, but now I'm just completely, hands off the steering wheel. It's on cruise control here in some ways. And you have to be, because the way things are shifting so much, and especially in this year we had that Grand Cross, and oh my gosh, it was just, this year has just been, last year was amazing, but this year has even been, almost 10 times more profound as the shifts that have been happening, and it seems like the whole ascension process is really starting to get kick into high gear. How do you guys feeling that this year, 2014?
Definitely things are, well, they're continuing to move. I think that ever since 2012, the December 21st was, I experienced I haven't heard anybody else really explain it the way I think I felt, the way I felt through the day. But it was like a complete new beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, when I woke up on the morning of the 21st, the energy was so calm. It was just, it was shocking to me how calm it was. And ever since then, it seems like just daily, moment by moment, more and more is being added to that energy. and it's ramping up slowly, but and gradually ramping up.
Yeah.
We're getting to a point now where it's just there's just so much there now, and it's of a completely different flavor of from what it was prior to the 21st.
So,
There's a I hesitate to use the word benevolent, but for lack of a better term, there's a benevolent feel to the energy that's coming in. Prior to it was laced very heavily with fear.
Yeah.
The energy was just laced really heavy with fear. But it was like a new start energetically. And
Tom, who was it that was it on our show? Somebody was, I remember, I think it was on our show. Somebody was saying that NASA that day had picked up this beam of energy coming into the planet from a different galaxy, I think it was, or that NASA had picked up. Like,
was that Scott Lemrill?
no. This was more recent. I think it might have been the ladies, Denise Stoner and was
Oh,
it them?
yeah, Denise and Kathleen.
Yeah, and how NASA had picked up this beam of energy that was coming into the planet, that was from somewhere else, like physical evidence of, and they didn't know what it was.
Right.
Yeah, tuning into those new energies, it seems to be, it's like it's here for you to the clarity Tom mentioned, and yeah, like you're talking about, Ramon, it seems like it's there waiting just to be recognized, and it's online now, so it's definitely a positive step forward.
Oh,
Yeah.
Whether scientists recognize it or not,
exactly. Well, because they're well, from the scientific corner, they're kind of, despite of what their own personal beliefs are, if they want to keep their job, they're stuck to a certain book that they're working out of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
if
there's
they're not
people
towing
who
a
are,
party line, they get in trouble.
yeah, but
Yeah.
it's getting close. Who as soon as the lanes are open for them to shift into the new paradigm, but we'll see how quickly, and no, it's not the whole organization of who can deal with those energies and who can tune into them is shifting, is changing as well. So for a lot of people, they're just going to have to step down, and it's going to be a whole new group of leaders and leadership and stewards out there that are already online and have been trained in this with these energies and whatnot.
Yeah, speaking of that, I'm getting ready to hear this coming weekend. Actually, while the day this show airs, I will be. I guess that'll be Sunday, and I'll be taking Reiki 3. So I'm going to do the official Reiki mastery training this weekend.
Cool.
So yeah, another aspect of the energy for me to play with.
Yeah. Greg, do you find that, because for me, I find it's like my boss, she's really like open with telling people, like, oh yeah, he studies UFOs and he does a show on them. And
Yeah.
she says it like nonchalantly, like, it's like knitting or a soccer habit or whatever. It's like that English teacher plays soccer and this one chases UFOs.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I sometimes get parents, especially parents, where they're like, yeah, and then they tell me their experience. Do you find that, I guess because you're getting more exposure in Japan, that the not so typical people you would expect come and open to you quietly?
Exactly. Yeah, it's surprising, and it's refreshing as well. We don't meet a lot of. I mean, there's not a real culture of open criticism here to begin with, but like you're saying, yeah, the people who have their own story or are really interested, it's amazing. It's surprising who and how they come out you. Even one of the people we ask, we have a company that makes. We just do small runs of T-shirts and stuff, and it's a printing company. But the woman, the owner's wife, she was saying, she looked at the Sirius flyer and said, "Hey, we'd love to do this in a local screening here, in our community, kind of like a PTA gathering." It's like, wow, it is. Definitely get a lot of that. People are surprisingly open-minded out here, definitely.
Yeah, I found it that it's not there's not no open criticism, but the people who kind of think it's all bunk, they just like typical, they just ignore it.
Yeah,
Because
they'll say it.
sometimes, like my boss will say, like she said it to a doctor, and then he was like, "Okay, so what time do we start the English class?"
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
they'll change the subject.
that's the way they change it. Yeah. So they won't actually get into a debate with you, but they won't. They don't want to get into it. They don't. So yeah, it's to each his own. Everyone. Different strokes, different folks, I guess. But as you're saying, we've had a lot more people who want to hear more, or are truly interested, or even have their own experience. So it's really as of even just last year with this new kind of tool to have here with Sirius, with just carrying the flyers around or whatever, it's helping to get that information out there a lot more. The next one we're doing is Contact Has Begun. So I finally had we've got next coming up. It seems like when a lot of these, there's so much information that's been backed up in this field that's not out here, that even just releasing a DVD is not enough. It's like we'd love to get James Golan's books, or at least a compilation of the books out here. So we're sort of trying to build up to that. And with the Contact Has Begun project, along with the books you mentioned in the bio there, they've kind of been put on hold for one reason or another. One of the reasons is that the master files were all stolen from the producer's house. So we've been working off of a sort of a limited base here. Luckily, and by overdubbing that film in Japanese, it's going to be really easy to get out there as well. But we had to redo the whole soundtrack. So
Why would someone steal that?
I don't know. It seems like
That's one of those.
Yeah, definitely. The producer is
Out of all the things you could steal from a producer's house, you steal that.
Exactly.
Yeah. It is a very it's a great. I don't know if people who haven't seen it yet should definitely check it out. The older version is on YouTube, but yeah. So we it's all, again, hands off the steering wheel thing. When the timing is right, it's going to come out. But we had a nice jump forward last month. We were able to redo the soundtrack. There was an issue. We didn't have the actual original audio files to separate from the dialogue. So we ended up in a day, or just a day and a half, my buddy and I in Brooklyn, in New York, we went through and ripped through the whole soundtrack and redid the whole damn thing. So when the support comes in, it's like a lightning strike. When the timing is right. I arrived from Japan, and the next day I was in the studio. So without any appointment or foreknowledge of it. So it's fun when that happens.
Yeah, and was it one of those things that you had universal support, so everything was so smooth? It's like it did it by
synchronicity.
itself.
Exactly. That was James's birthday present, I think, this year. His and I, our birthdays are just 3 days apart in July, so it seems like that was a push in the right direction. It's coming out, because I think we've been working on that for over a year and a half. We've had this going on, so it's a matter of just the timing, and hopefully he'll be out here too next year. We'll see. He's been asking he's been tuning in and saying it's not quite time yet, so we'll see. Hopefully next year we'll get him out here to Japan and do the full release, with a lecture tour and whatnot. So
that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
It would be funny to see James here.
Yeah. You'll have to come too, Tom.
No, I would love to. That'd be a blast. So
yeah,
we'll do that. So
yeah.
Before we get into
here.
any other areas there, Greg, we kind of already talked off this first hour. So
yeah,
where can people get a hold of you at, and websites and etc.?
We're at jceti.org. We're going to have a lot more the more English information people could see on the YouTube channel. It's JCETI 1, JCETI space 1. So you're hoping to get some of our videos and stuff out there. You know, I'm really not into releasing stuff without a lot of explanation, so it's just a matter of time before we get that going. But and then also I have that chapter that's in English in the Paths to Contact book, which was compiled by Jeff Becker. I think that's on Amazon as well now.
Nice. All right, well, guys,
Great to speak to you.
If you're out there listening to this on YouTube or iTunes or Vimeo or one of those other media outlets and would like to hear hour 2, pop on over to the hundredthmonkeyradio.com and check out the archives. It's all there, guys. Let's see. We will be back in just a few minutes with some more wonderful conversation with Greg Sullivan from JCETI.
Just to let everybody know, we'll be getting into protocols and meaning how to make your own contact.
Exactly. The good stuff, the meat and potatoes. All the meat and potatoes in hour 2, guys. All right, we'll see you guys in a few minutes. Condemnation without investigation is the height of ignorance.
Freedom's calling up for the fathers deep inside us. Everybody wants change, but tell me who will guide us. To the leaders that pass away, put up your lighters. It's a beautiful struggle, but it cannot divide us. We're the ones that we've always been waiting for. See yourself in the mirror and open up the door. Walk through it and feel the love throughout your pores. Be the light, life's purpose is to feel joy. Metaphysical, lyrical, standing up for truth. The only one to make change is walking in your shoes. Be the example, don't complain about the news. Making music and serving the world with the loo. Now you can be the same, or you can be the change. Find strength from inside, break through the chains. No one to blame, nothing to prove. You create your reality, it's up to you. Be the change
that you wanna see in the world. Like Gandhi, live for peace, aspire to be someone who fights for the beliefs. Like Martin Luther King, aspire to be that love, that light, like Christ, life for the moment in need. And if you believe in Jehovah, Allah, Buddha, Krishna, it's love to me.
My soul yearns for peace in a world that's flooded with war. History's littered with body scar, trying to settle the score and maintain an archaic platform of power and greed. People fight for land out of survival and need. So I'm killing my television and I'm planting a seed to fill my head with knowledge that I'm seeing recede. Due to the media propaganda killing my creed. Know what don't kill me make me stronger, feeling straight when I bleed. Fight for interest and forwards attached to feet. They try to say you anything in this world, nothing for free. Land, air, fire, and water, they keep up in the ante while the anti-proletariat told the powers to be. But we keep fighting, surviving and thriving, recycling and rhyming. We constantly inclining, we see through the lying and prying. They tactically keep trying to keep you from asking the why.
Be the change that you wanna see in the world. Like Gandhi, live for peace, aspire to be someone who fights for the beliefs. Like Martin Luther King, aspire to be that love, that light, like Christ, life for the moment in need. And if you believe in Jehovah, Allah, Buddha, Krishna, it's love to me.
We find solutions, different possibilities, creating organizations like Aspire to Be, inspiring young minds to see, building life skills, nurturing creativity, fulfilling the youth's basic needs, listening actively, teaching the tools to succeed, positive role models, we plant the seed, the roots drink the water which feed the trees, someone help me, giving back is my responsibility.
Be the change that